Hi, welcome to Observations. My name is John Walsh, publisher of the Palm Coast and Ormond Beach Observer community newspapers. Thanks for joining us. Subject today is the Observer. We thought it was important to talk about some of the changes that we've experienced in our business because of COVID. It's affected all of us, businesses, personal lives, and so forth. In addition to that, we're proud to say that this is our 11th year of publishing the Palm Coast Observer, and we're very excited about that. Today joining me is the executive editor, Brian McMillan, and advertising director, Jaclyn Centofanti. Thanks, guys. Again, I just kind of wanted to talk about what's happening in our industry and what's happening with our publications here locally. And it was just a year ago that we were doing great, right? Going into 2020 was a good year for us. And business was showing signs of improvement over 2019. And I think it was March 12th that really kind of hit our business pretty hard. And a lot's changed since then, and I kind of wanted to talk about that.
I remember meeting and having a tough discussion, just like probably pretty much every business, when you realize that there's going to be shutdowns and how much it's going to hit you. So I think a lot of people can probably relate to that kind of crisis meeting sort of thing.
I referred to March 12th. I remember the date. And as a business owner and operated, we were watching, what was happening around us. And our business, our orders come to us by the month. So the month of March was pretty robust. We had a lot of ads booked. Things were rocking and rolling. And all of a sudden, the phone started ringing. And I remember talking to Jackie and our team, and we said, stop answering the phone, because what was happening?
It was, businesses were closing, so it's understandable, and events, it was a lot of events. March is a huge event season for Flagler County, and it was a lot of that, like, we're canceling our event, we're postponing our event, we're not sure what's happening, can you pull the ad, can you pull the ad, can you pull the ad? And I know, everybody in your trade should be obviously paying attention, and so I was watching a lot of editor and publisher and this and that, and months before we were watching the progression of newspapers, in Europe, closing or stopping printing and all of that. And I think
you kept saying it never happened here.
When we said we don't want to do that, what do we need to do to make sure that we can still print a newspaper? Because when is a newspaper more important than in a crisis time? So. And
that truly is the outcome, right? We're going to talk about that, but yeah, I remember that month. 50% of our revenue was canceled.
Probably, I think March was bad. Like, it was up front pretty heavy.
We took it, I said that, I talk about this frequently, that there's three types of businesses. The ones that caught it at the very outset of the outbreak, then the middle guys, and some of the businesses that are just now starting to feel it. So there we were, March 12th, and business came to a screeching halt. It went backwards for us. And first thing I did was looked at our resources and said, if we, how much cash do we have on hand, and how long can I support this entity, and was pretty concerned at the time. So we made some changes. And I think the biggest change comes in the way we distribute the paper. Mm-hmm. And you want to take that one?
Sure. And on the advertising side, obviously one of the biggest things we talk about is our audience, so who we reach. So looking at this, we said we still want to print a paper, but we need to be able to afford to do that. And so what do we need to do? And one of our biggest monetary obligations is printing and circulating a free newspaper. And so we had to make some cuts in circulation and decide what we wanted to do going forward. But I think the other shift that we did on the editorial end, people were looking for news. They were constantly seeking it. They wanted the updates from the health department, the county, the state, the mayor, whomever. And Brian and his team, I think, really had to make that shift to be primarily just, focused on making sure that they got that news out as soon as it came out. So that meant our online platforms really saw an increase. So the people that did stick with us, we said, look, we have this whole new bucket of audience. So yes, we're gonna deplete some of your audience over here in print, but you need to be over here as well, because there are a lot of people looking online. So it was just this huge shift in our industry.
Consumption and demand of our editorial products went up, while advertising support went down.
Right.
Yeah.
made it very challenging for us. And the biggest shift, I believe, that has been a very successful story for us is we reduced the number of driveways that the paper is delivered to. We shifted those papers to rack and stand locations. That is a more efficient, lower cost distribution model for any paper.
And then for advertisers, it actually turns around. At first, I was kind of against it, like, no, we want to keep them in driveways. What are we doing? And I don't know how this messaging works. But when you think about the fact that we went from, 1,800 newspapers in racks and stands throughout the community to 6,000 newspapers in racks and stands, and we're still having a low spit back rate, that means people are actively getting in their car and driving somewhere, or walking maybe, but mostly getting in their car and driving somewhere to go and pick up the paper. And that's huge. So that just means that there's that desire there, and then we added another layer.
True demand for consumption.
Correct.
That they are no longer walking to the end of their driveway to pick up the paper. They are going to a location at a convenience store, at a grocery store, at a local business that has papers available for them to pick up at no cost.
I think that's one thing that's interesting about this whole the whole shift is that you have it forced us to reevaluate big picture things. It wasn't just like, let's make a little adjustment here or there. We're talking about we get 100% of our revenue from one thing, and that is advertising. So now that we're getting, 50% of it might be dissolving for who knows how long, we have to figure out a way to come up with other revenue. And so we turn to subscription, something we've been talking about for years.
We've been talking about it for years,
Yeah.
That people love the Observer, and I'm proud to say that, and they do. We talk about it in our office that if a paper is late on the end of a driveway on a Thursday, then our receptionist is picking up the phone. No, it's on its way, it's on its way. So a lot of strong demand. It wasn't me who pulled the trigger on it, right? It was our circulation manager, David Brooks, came to me one morning and said, John, I want to talk to you about circulation. He was affected significantly in the shift and came to me, and he had one line that caught my attention. And he said, John, how about instead of you giving me a check every month to deliver the papers, I give you a check? And he had my attention. So Dave came to me and we talked about it. And I'm very proud of the job that Dave does for us. It's just absolutely incredible that today we offer driveway distribution, delivery to your driveway for an annual fee of $49. To Brian's point, all of our revenue was totally dependent on local businesses advertising their businesses to the local market. And in the pandemic, that was significantly impacted. So the shift to paid to the people that consume us and asking them for $49 to deliver the paper to their driveways has been remarkable, and it created a new revenue platform for our business, which has been very significant to us. So where we are today, the zip codes we serve in all of Flagler County and all of Ormond Beach, driveway or front door distribution is available for $49. It doesn't matter if you're the only house on the street that gets it or not, but we're very proud that we can deliver those papers to the people that are really interested and really going to read it. And that's the second point.
Right. I was going to say, and the other point there is that it's expanded our reach. So we're in gated communities where we weren't before because, of course, you have HOAs, Palm Coast Plantation or Grand Haven or Plantation Bay, Hammock. There's some in Ormond as well, obviously. But we weren't delivering to them because we were driveway delivery. If you wanted a subscription prior to this, we mailed it. So now your Thursday paper is getting to you like maybe by Monday, maybe Saturday. It's 2 days late. It's already a weekly paper. So, it needs to be timely. And so you can now, like you said, if you're the only person on your street, you're getting it in your driveway. I had Mark Langelo, which a lot of people know in the community, called me and said, hey, can you find out my delivery driver's name and address so I can mail her a gift? He said she walks the newspaper up to my driveway and puts it on the front step. And he lives somewhere in Flagler Beach, but that we previously did not, home deliver to. And he's, a local businessman who I know would love to have a paper. And so saying, hey, Mark, for $50 a year, less than $1 a paper, we'll do this. He was, just ecstatic. So
we were talking, it seemed like the big question to us was, why didn't we try this before?
Yeah, really.
And it did take Dave, again, it forced innovation, it forced a rethinking. And I think that ultimately we're going to be stronger in 2 or 3 years than we would have if the pandemic didn't hit us, ironically.
We'll talk about that towards the end of the program today. Another significant shift in our business model was consumption of online.
Yeah. So we had the big issue that we had with, we had to reduce staff, to save costs in addition to trying to find ways to make more money with the subscriptions. And so we went from having 3 full-time reporters in Palm Coast to having 1 full-time reporter in Palm Coast. Jonathan Simmons is, still the stalwart, news editor. He's been here for 5 or 6 years now. But so we just had fewer feet on the street to go and cover things. But slowly we've added more freelance to kind of fill in gaps, and that has given us a lot of versatility. So that's good. But ultimately, the online the demand went up, and I have a couple numbers.
Traditionally, in our business model, it was primary consideration on what we covered each week was based on how many pages were available to publish those stories. That is a direct response to how many ads we sell, and it basically works for every ad we sell. We can publish a story and pages. So as advertisers left us, the page count went down, and that space,
16, literally overnight.
That space is very valuable as to what we can put on those pages. But meanwhile, demand was going up.
Yeah, the demand pretty much doubled online, quickly, because there's so much breaking news, and that's what drives a lot of the online content. But yeah, we, especially with subscriptions, we had to then decide, can ads be the only thing that determine the size of the paper? We have to also think, we have to give a product that's going to be worth subscribing to. So in Ormond Beach, for example, we keep it now to 16 no matter what. We don't go down to 12, which the ads might sometimes suggest. So in online, we do decide that there might be more exclusive content online than there was before. We signed up for the news service of Florida, so we have some more state coverage, which we've been talking about for a year.
Meanwhile, our digital traffic was going crazy, going off the charts.
Yeah, we saw an immediate increase to double or triple of the web content or the web traffic that we had before. I pulled some numbers for this, that in the first 6 weeks of 2020, so Jan 1 to Feb 15 of 2020, before the pandemic, we had 206,000 page views on palmcoastobserver.com. And so it kept going up, plateaued, settled back. But even though we have less staff, to right now, we're still about 10% higher than we were before that, which I think is pretty remarkable. From Jan 1, 2021 to Feb 15, 2021, we're at 233,000 page views on palmcoastobserver.com. So we know that we may have essentially trained some more of our readers to look to us more often for information online, which again is something that we'd like to do all along.
And I think we built off of that and built from that where we are today, that it was page consideration before digital, but in today's daily operation, your focus is different.
Yeah, we have to. We used to have, again, 3 full-time people. Now we have some freelance help, including my sister who lives in Idaho, but we send her a bunch of content that she posts for us, and it kind of takes some of the pressure off of the people who are still here. Jonathan Simmons, news editor, and I do more writing now than I used to, which I like and I think is a good thing. So we're more responsive now than we used to be with getting things on the website, more timely. And we know that a lot of the same content is still driving, clicks. Some of the biggest news that we've had so far this year is, of course, with Publix getting vaccines and availability of vaccines, but also the same kind of content that we've always seen as being big drivers, restaurant news. The second biggest thing we had this year was the Jimmy's Hang 10 restaurant opening, which we always joke about that a Flagler Beach restaurant.
All-time number one story?
Chick-fil-A opening in Palm Coast. I mean, every time a new restaurant opens, Culver's, it doesn't matter how small or big a deal it is.
Like one photo of the rendering.
So ultimately, our mission is still the same in editorial, on the editorial department. We're trying to inspire the community with extraordinary local content and help our partners prosper by finding something that is worth reading and getting the eyeballs, having demand for the content. So
I think Brian's a true journalist at heart, obviously, and I think it was my major too, so I've always kind of been on the same lines. And so I think we would get something like a news release where most agencies would obviously typically turn that around and just turn that into a story, and we were always kind of against that, like, hey, let's take that news release and like dive in a little deeper and like do an interview and see what kind of story we can come out with. And I think we still do that, but you are very good now at instantly getting that online and then seeing is there a further story that can go from there, and then maybe that's what makes it to print, or that's a follow-up to the news release, but getting that instant news out because people are consuming it differently.
Again, because of the different configuration, people working remote areas that you pointed out. But your focus has been great in such that breaking news, we have somebody responsible for breaking news. And here before, we weren't always so concerned about breaking news.
And I mean, the staff was 100% built around making the print product as good as possible. And it made sense because that's where 100% of our revenue is coming from. But the digital revenue has also gone up quite a bit. It's still not huge, but it's a lot better than it used to be.
Right. So we addressed our cost of operation. We shifted distribution. We increased revenue by offering driveway delivery throughout our community, regardless whether we were covering that street or not, for $49 a year. Our focus on sharing more of our information and story timely throughout the day online. I believe our audience has expanded on this side of COVID. And I'm really excited about the direction that we're headed. Jackie, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the changes in advertising relationships. The COVID hit, the advertisers were retracting. Everybody was wondering if we were going to be in business or not. It was throughout the community. Every small operator, every business operator had the same fears. And so some of the unique things that we experienced through COVID.
Well, obviously there was that immediate, the first thing somebody wants to cut is always going to be marketing, right? It's the easiest thing. And so those phone calls, and we joke about it, but obviously we picked up the phone and said, like, I understand your event is postponed. I understand your business is closed. I had businesses that were closed for a month, and were healthcare, but not sort of like urgent care or whatever, and so they were closed, for like 3-4 weeks, and then they were allowed to open and just didn't reopen until July, August, and so what are they going to be advertising? I totally understand when a partner of ours, Palm Coast Hearing is the first one that comes to mind, been a partner since day one with us. We had just recognized them in February as one of our legacy advertisers, and they closed their business. They closed their doors because they had to, and then when they were allowed to reopen, decided to stay safe. The owners were older. They have an older population, and just said, we can't do this, not safely. And so they're just now reopening. So we're just now talking about, getting them back in and what does that messaging look like. But a lot of them, once they kind of figured out what their new norm was, are we now selling products online? Do we want to do some ads that are online that are specifically going to my online shop? And then do we still want to do print? Are we in a restaurant that needs to say we're takeout, we're curbside, we're whatever?
Messaging was a challenge, but I want to go back to a word that you used, partners. And through this, we found a couple of new partners.
Yeah. So one of the biggest partnerships, and this was, huge, and I hope Amy sees this and everybody at the county and tourism, but they called us. Obviously, the government handed out a lot of money, and the tourism department specifically basically went to Jerry Cameron at the county and their team and said, we want to use dollars to promote local businesses who right now can't afford to do that. And so it was this, dual thing that it's
three-legged stool.
Yeah, so it helped out,
The businesses were we were excited to get the buy. I know they also used our local radio station.
So let me back up. The county contacted us and said, if we have this budget, how best can we serve our business community?
Yeah. So
And what did you come up
We
with?
put together a whole campaign, so it was everything. It was, a big double spread, and we were able to say, you know what, if we could get 4 businesses in here, highlight. They had done an event, a campaign called Pledge to Prevent, and so those were those businesses that were practicing safe protocols and all of that. And so they had, a checklist that you had to be doing. And so they said, we want to reward these businesses who are helping keep our county safe. And so doing so, here's the list of everyone participating. Contact them. And we basically just kind of sent an all call out and said, look, on behalf of the county reaching out to you, you've got a free ad in the Observer.
Stimulus is going to support financially the ability for the Observer to advertise your business with no cost to the business.
I know they used local radio as well. It was pretty much half and half, and I was just really grateful because the businesses that we talked to, I mean, when they picked up the phone and I said, hey, this is what the county's doing, and when they said thank you to us, I said, you need to thank them. We're grateful because it's helping, it's helping support us. Buying a double truck, buying 2 pages is 2 pages of editorial content. So that was just huge, and that really carried us through. Kind of went through, I think, the end of October, and then we even came back and we talked about what are we going to do for the holidays. We've always talked about shop small, shop local during the holiday season, but how can we do it even more? And then I was able to go to the city of Palm Coast as well. They've always had a Be Local, Buy Local campaign. They came in and supported
Another great partner. Absolutely.
Support our holiday gift guide. So we had support from the county through the holiday season, like gifting experiences, gifting outdoor experiences. What are some things that you could still do? What are local retailers, again, can you buy online? Are you doing curbside pickup? Can I order, call, and pick it up? And getting a lot of that messaging out. But the holidays were probably going to be a huge hit, for a lot of our local retailers. I think about people like, Florida Workshop, who I know we did a story on, County Road and Company. Those were some advertisers that, I'm sure would have given us all the money to support, but just really couldn't. They had no idea what this holiday season was going to look like. So getting that support from the city, getting that support from the county to promote, use your dollar here, support, here's how you can. That was just a huge partnership for us.
I feel like it's a good example to see how intertwined the whole economy is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is everywhere, but like locally you realize, okay, if this business has fewer customers coming in for any reason, that means that this other business probably doesn't do as well either, and then therefore they don't advertise. Neither one of them advertise, so then we're hurting. And
then tax dollars are not being spent,
Yeah.
and that of course hurts, the municipalities, and
But
so
it-
it's really this big cyclical thing.
Exactly, but it just shows that our mission is to help our partners prosper, and really that's why we're always going to be cheerleaders for the business community, because if the business community is strong, then they are more likely to want to advertise with us. So it's in our interest. But if the business community is strong, then everybody's families are also being fed. So everything is just so intertwined, which is why I'm fully supportive of the Be Local, Buy Local campaign that the city has too.
It's what we're all about. And so, state of the Observer here. Financially, we're in solid footing. We're in good shape. The COVID has forced us to make some big changes in our business. We're not unique. Most businesses throughout everybody has been affected by this and are doing business differently. I again am very proud of the job that we do serving our communities and fulfilling our mission. And our full mission is to inspire communities with extraordinary local content and help our partners prosper. And just really proud of the job that you guys are doing for us.
Likewise.
So thank you very much. And again, celebrating our 11th year of publishing here in Palm Coast, serving the Ormond Beach market and throughout. Hey, stay in touch.
Support our advertisers.
Yeah, support our
Absolutely.
Great call. Thank you very much.